Something's missing.
Oh! Hello? Employment?
No. Krimson.
Oh! Hey, Krim! Hey, how are things?
Not bad. Actually, I was calling you about my next episode.
Yeah?
See, I'm reviewing the Hunger Games, and after we worked on Divergent together, I was wondering if you wanted to join me.
Oh, well, gee, I would love to help you out again. But, I've just been so busy with my own channel. So, I would just need some time to see if I could squeeze you in and stuff like that. You'd understand that, right?
Really? Because you haven't put out a new episode in, like, a year.
Oh, sure. Rub it in, why don't you? I see how it is, Mr. 200 times my subscribe account and thinks I'm totally jealous of you, which, by the way, I'm totally not.
Wait, what?
I can totally move a few things around and help you out in your show. Would love to be there. Great day for UK. Thanks, bye, see ya. Whew, yeah, I think I covered that up well.
What the hell just happened? Hey, Krimson, did you say you're reviewing the Hunger Games next? Yes. Awesome! Can you write me into a skit? Is that gun loaded? Nope. Hello and welcome to The Book Was Better, where we're watching today's movies one book at a time.
And I'm Diane from Leafing Through the Frames.
How the hell do you do that?
Please, your security is about as weak as your fight with Rain.
You're very hurtful.
Speaking of getting your ass whooped in the woods...
I won that fight!
Thank you so much for having me back for the Hunger Games episode. I was all about this movie when it first came out. Oh, and, I missed being on this show and stuff, too.
You just miss being on camera.
Yes, I do. I really do.
Ugh.
It's also a nice return to form for the both of us. I mean, neither of us have done anything YA for a while. The last time you did something YA, it was that episode on Twilight.
Oh, God! Ugh!
Krimson?
Don't say that name!
You mean Twilight?
Just shut up and do the intro.
Oh, okay. It's hard to believe, but it's been a whopping 8 years since the inception of a little-known pop culture phenomenon that was the Hunger Games. A dystopian saga about a post-apocalyptic North America in which the government forces one boy and girl from the 12 segregated districts to fight to the death in an annual televised tournament. It was one of the most popular book series in the last decade, bringing in a whole slew of new readers to the literary world at large.
The first book was published in 2008 and became one of the biggest novels since Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
And also that book with the apple on it.
Shut up! Not only were the books known for the compelling plot and characters, they also drew attention to their commentary on war, politics, and the celebrity. Hunger Games was also met with some controversy due to the story's violent nature, as well as being labeled as a Battle Royale ripoff, a novel that was also about kids isolated in an enclosed area and being forced to kill off one another until there was only one survivor left. Now, I don't know about you, Diane, but I was into stories about children murdering each other before it was cool.
With all the hype, both good and bad, Hollywood took notice and turned the books into a relentless money-making film franchise, with each film generating over $600 million in box office returns. Hunger Games became as much as a heavyweight as other book-adapted franchises such as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and that thing. The first movie was released in March of 2012 and was directed by Gary Ross, who has helmed other successful films such as Seabiscuit and Pleasantville. Along with Suzanne Collins, the original author herself, he also helped pen the screenplay. Hunger Games was met with praise from both fans and critics alike and made actors Jennifer Lawrence, Liam Hemsworth, and Josh Hutcherson into overnight celebrities. The movie is generally agreed as being a faithful adaptation of the first book. However, in spite of Collins' involvement, there are still many differences between the movie and its source material, most notably the film ditching Katniss's first-person perspective.
So how well can the movie pull off these differences? Well, let's find out for ourselves as we slaughter our way through the Hunger Games.
Ugh, really?
I know, I panicked.
After opening to what I think is a pretty decent scene to establish just how brainwashed the people in power are, we are introduced to Katniss and Primrose Everdeen. It's the morning of the reaping, the day in which a government official comes to collect one boy and girl from each district to become contestants for the upcoming Hunger Games. Prim, who's recently turned 12, is finally old enough to be added to the draw for the very first time. After putting Prim back to bed, Katniss, played by Jennifer Lawrence, goes out hunting beyond the city fence, which is strictly forbidden, of course. On her way to the woods, we get a good view on just how craptastic District 12 is.
Okay, playing devil's advocate here for a moment, but why? What's the point of suppressing these people to the point where they're eating squirrels just to survive?
It's because of the tyrannical government. I don't see what's so hard to understand. Each district is forced to produce a certain good that will benefit the capital directly. District 10 provides livestock, District 3 makes electronics, District 4 gives them the fish.
Okay, but what goods can you get from a group that looks like they spent the last 5 generations living off the grid? What are they supposed to produce? Spare refugees?
No, District 12 mines for coal and other natural resources, but apparently it's mainly coal.
And do starving people somehow produce more coal?
No.
The capital is stupid!
Katniss is out hunting when she comes across her best friend Gale.
What are you gonna do with that when you kill it?
Damn you, Gale. It's not funny.
What are you gonna do with a 100-pound deer, Catnip?
Given how the people of District 12 are starving, venison has to be worth its weight in gold. Why the fuck would Gale scare off a deer like that? He says it's to protect Katniss from the police, but those same police are working a shit beat. They will still buy the meat from her if only to have something to look forward to. All she has to do is be discreet. If this happened to me, then my response would be to put 2 or 3 arrows into Gale and sell his meat at market.
I've been really trying.
Not like that!
Gale and Katniss have a small picnic on a hill in a scene giving some exposition about the Hunger Games themselves.
What if they did? Just 1 year. What if everyone just stopped watching?
They won't, Gale.
What if they did? What if we did?
Won't happen.
Hey, they're talking about the Divergent series!
In the next scene, we get an understanding of what the Hunger Games are meant to be and why they exist in this blatant propaganda piece.
And so it was decreed that each year the various districts of Panem would offer up in tribute one young man and woman to fight to the death in a pageant of honor, courage, and sacrifice.
We are also introduced to Effie Trinket, the overly spirited guide from the capital to District 12, played excellently by Elizabeth Banks.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Hunger Games. And may the odds be ever in your favor.
This scene has to be one of my favorite moments out of the entire franchise. Everything from the way it was shot, edited, and performed really brought this part of the book to life. And yeah, while this film was criticized for its overuse of shaky cam, I think this is one of those moments where it was used to great effect. The unsteadiness of the shots create the sense of dread and anxiety and really puts us in the shoes of both Katniss and Prim.
Katniss and Prim's worst fears come true though, as Effie selects the name of the girl tribute.
Primrose Everdeen.
And that's when we get what's probably the most well-known line from the series.
I volunteer! I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute!
The way this works is that after names are selected, volunteers can substitute themselves in for someone else, which is apparently quite common in Districts 1 through 3, which are known as the career districts. Basically, they're a bunch of war-hungry mongrels.
So with Katniss on stage and everyone in attendance giving the Capitol a symbolic middle finger, it's time for the boys to get their pick.
Peeta Mellark.
He's played by Josh Hutcherson, and we learn via flashback that he once gave her bread while she was nearly starving to death. Speaking of Peeta, Krim, do you remember your last episode about your top 10 mistakes?
Yeah?
You forgot to mention that you kept mispronouncing Peeta's name in your Vampire's Assistant review. Just saying.
You just gotta keep digging, don't you?
Before they leave, Katniss is given a chance to say goodbye to her friends and loved ones, including her little sister. To protect you?
Right, because that worked out so well for you when the single slip of paper containing your name got picked out of hundreds of others.
It's a Mockingjay pin. To protect you.
Primrose Everdeen.
Hey, at least Prim was invested in her goodbye. I can't say the same for Gale's.
There's 24 of us, Gail. Only one comes out.
And it's gonna be you.
Oh my god, Guy! Are you her best friend or her life coach? The girl you're secretly in love with is about to be shipped off to the slaughter, and you talk to her like she's just going to play a basketball game.
I'll see you soon, okay?
Yeah, you go get him, champ! We'll grab some brewskis later!
So right after Gale condemns himself to the friend zone for all eternity, Effie leads the two kids to the train that'll take them straight to the Capitol, where they get to live like royalty before getting slaughtered like pigs. And to help them train is Woody Harrelson, playing Haymitch Abernathy, the only tribute to come out of District 12.
Where's the ice?
He's a sloppy alcoholic.
Whew, looks like Zombieland really took a toll on Woody Harrelson.
You got a purty mouth.
Nah, he's been like that ever since Cheers.
I mean, there's no way her head's gonna come off in one clean cut like that. Believe me, I've seen my uncle butcher hogs and you have to hack and hack and hack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we really out of Woody Harrelson jokes already?
Oh god, I thought I was the only one. It's like the only roles this guy can play are alcoholics and morons.
The trip continues until Katniss and Peeta finally reach the Capitol.
There it is.
Hey, I don't know how pronounced it was in Canada when the books came out, but in the US, there was actually a lot of political discourse as to what the Capitol represented.
Really?
Oh yeah. Those on the left said that the powerful capital city that ruled over the 12 remaining districts of Panem were an allegory to the elite 1%, while the right said that the capital was more symbolic of an oppressive authoritarian government.
I honestly don't see the difference. What do you think?
Well, I am of the belief that this country would be more productive if it was run entirely by cats. The hell?
You said the magic word!
What?
Here! I'm back, bitches!
What the hell just happened?
In the Capitol, Katniss and Peeta are treated like celebrity athletes, adored and held by one of the most fashionably challenged societies ever. Holy crap, it's like postmodernism mutated from radiation and took on human form. Now, being a fashion lover myself, I'm definitely not one to decry thinking outside the box a little bit now and again. But jeez, there should be some limit. Oh god, I'm sure Coco Chanel is rolling in her grave somewhere.
There. Now you're beautiful.
Did you have to make me look so ambiguous?
Shut up. No one else is complaining.
We are then introduced to Cinna, the only costume designer that seems to understand the concept of less is more. And he's played by none other than Lenny Kravitz, talented guitarist and, second only to Krimson in terms of raw talent. Did you really have to write that joke in?
My ego must be inflated! So the tribute parade begins, showing all the tributes selected for this year's games. All the fighters are carried in by chariot, displaying costumes symbolic of their native land.
And don't you love how the stylists, they so clearly are able to reflect the character of each district?
We have the Greek cosplayers district, the Swan district, the Strawberry Jester district, and of course, the Arson victim district. Seriously though, Cinna looks like the only designer who put more than 2 seconds worth of thought into his work.
Once the parade finishes, it's time for their death battle training.
Did someone say death battle? No, NPC, not like that.
Training consists of combat basics as well as survival tactics like finding water or creating camouflage.
Hi.
Hey.
How did you do that?
I used to decorate the cakes down at the bakery.
Now I know this point has been brought up before, but I'm gonna say it again. Decorating cakes and camouflaging are not the same thing. Who is Peeta's bakery selling to? Like, is it the capital? Because it sure can't be the other refugee status citizens of District 12. You know, the people who eat squirrels and look at a plain white bun as if it were a bar of gold.
Here.
Oh my god. Is this real?
Yeah, better be. Cost me a squirrel.
Next come the evaluations, so that the tributes can be rated from 1 to 12, which later leads to potential sponsorship deals. So does that mean that when the games open up, everyone will be decked out like NASCAR drivers? Katniss and Peeta go last, which means the evaluators are bored and distracted after a whole grueling 2 hours of work. Although I'll give them a break because reviewing is hard work, meant only for the most badass among us.
Then why don't you just come out with more than 1 episode a month?
Shut up! Anyway, Katniss does well enough, getting a kill shot with a bow from a considerable distance away. But the Game Masters don't notice this because their ever so important roast pig has finally arrived.
Thank you for your consideration.
However, this case of fructose assassination only grants Katniss a very high score.
Katniss Everdeen. With a score of 11.
The final round of parading takes place with an interview with Caesar Flickerman, played by Stanley Tucci, perhaps the most likable of anyone out of the capital aside from Cinna. We get another scene of Katniss being overwhelmed by the sights and sounds around her, which the movie uses to great effect.
Katniss's interview goes well, but the real key to the scene isn't with her, it's with Peeta, especially when Caesar asks him about having a special girl back home.
You go out there, and you win this thing. And when you get home, she'll have to go out with you. Right, folks?
Thanks, but I don't think winning's gonna help me at all.
And why not?
Because she came here with me.
In the book, this was actually an example of the complexity hidden within the text, which is what I think made the Hunger Games such a good trilogy. Peeta's actions, and later we discover that Haymitch's actions too, are all aimed at keeping Katniss alive. This worked better in the book because everything was Katniss-centric and we didn't get any hints as to what was going on in anyone else's head. You have to step back and think about it after the fact. This was even more true in the sequel, which consequently is why I didn't like it as much, but that's for a later review. This same effect works somewhat in the movie, but mostly in that it just exists. This idea that Peeta is putting his own life aside to save Katniss is hinted at in the movie, but its execution is muted compared to how the book put it, and almost wouldn't exist if we didn't have the book to compare it to in the first place. In part, it's because the movie steps away from Katniss to address other scenes without her in it, and thus we lose that air of mystery surrounding Katniss, and ourselves by extension, but also because the movie simply doesn't have time to divulge into this intricate reading between the lines. This also leads us to a problem in how Katniss and Peeta's relationship is displayed in the movie, but we'll get to that later. After the ceremonies and the interviews and the parading about have quieted down, it's time for our group of children to be prepped, carted off, and forced into an arena to murder each other.
It's time for a death battle!
Ready? I told you we're not doing this skit. Why won't you let me express myself? Because you have a violence fetish. I'm not writing you into a Hunger Games skit. Someone's bound to get impaled on something. The countdown to the games begins, and the movie once again relies on heavily muted audio to very effectively portray a grim mood. The games start with a bloodbath fighting over resources and weapons. Katniss ignores Haymitch's advice to run for it and grabs a backpack before the girl from District 2 throws a knife into it, and Katniss escapes. Afterwards, Katniss takes stock of what she has in her backpack, including matches, a thermos, and rope.
Name one thing you're gonna need the stupid fucking rope for.
Katniss survives the first day and learns that 12 of the tributes have died. She takes refuge in a tree for the night when she sees the remaining tributes from Districts 1 to 4 have teamed up together along with one unexpected ally.
Hey, lover boy. You sure she went this way?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You better be.
Yeah, that was her snare we found back there.
Sadly, at this point, this is where the movie reveals its greatest weakness to me. Peeta, or Katniss's relationship to Peeta. The final cut of this film just neutralizes any real tension these two characters had in the book, which was arguably the best part about reading it. The book had you constantly second-guessing Peeta's motives and his true feelings towards Katniss. Was he an enemy? Was he an ally? Was he really in love with her? Was Katniss really in love with him? Or was he really just thinking about killing her while she slept? Their duplicitous relationship was more interesting than the games themselves.
But there's no time to question that, since Katniss wakes up and finds herself in the middle of an AWOL Nation music video. So burn it down! Burn it down! She gets some splash damage from an incoming fireball. And if that's not the end of her troubles, she's led right into the path of the Career Alliance. Katniss gets treed again, with the Careers unable to reach her, so they decide to wait her out.
Okay. Somebody make a fire.
Wait! They're able to make fire? Then why not set the tree on fire and get her down sooner? She's at least 30 feet up. There's no way she can fall from that height without shattering her ankles. Fuck! Did the movie have to make the villains idiots for Katniss to survive?
Probably. I don't recall them setting any fire in the book.
I know we're not dealing with criminal masterminds here, but you'd think your average teenager would know a little something about arson.
It isn't until the next morning that Katniss gets a little help. Rue, the girl from District 11, points out a tracker-jacker nest. Think really mean mutant hornets. And Katniss saws off the branch holding it onto the Careers and Peeta. This scene and a few others found a good way to get around the first-person narrative of the book.
Claudius, I think those are tracker-jackers. Am I wrong?
Oh. Those things are very lethal.
Very.
Since the movie couldn't rely on Katniss constantly narrating things, it instead uses Caesar and Claudius to give us any exposition throughout the games without it ever feeling clunky or jarring. The nest ends up killing the girl from District 1, allowing Katniss to take her bow and arrows.
After escaping from the mountain of stupidity that was the group of teenagers who couldn't assign one fucking lookout, Katniss comes across Rue, and as means of saying thanks, doesn't outright murder her. They decide to form their own alliance and work together at taking out the Careers.
So where are Kato and the others?
They got all their supplies down by the lake. It's piled up in this great big pyramid.
The plan is simple. Step 1. Rue creates a distraction. Step 2. Step 3. Katniss destroys the career supply depot. Success!
Oh, I get it. No, you don't, fat ass.
This is a small problem that both the movie and the book had. Katniss runs in with the start of a plan, but goes in with no way to execute it. The only reason she has any chance of success is because, once again, the career's fucked up. This time by piling enough explosives around the supplies to level a nuclear cooling tower.
Katniss returns to the rendezvous point to meet up with Rue, but something's wrong.
Katniss! Help! Katniss! Katniss!
Katniss races to free Rue from a net, only to have the boy from District 1 give Rue an opportune stabbing. Katniss quickly pays it right back, but unfortunately is unable to save Rue. Katniss sings her a lullaby and then gives her a flower memorial. This is seen as both a kind and rebellious act against the government by District 11, who proceed to riot out of control.
While the scene was somber, it didn't have the impact that the book had. In the movie, we didn't see Katniss comparing Rue to Prim, and didn't really see the lengths Katniss dedicated herself to keeping Rue alive. Because of that happening in the book, Katniss's failure to save Rue had a stronger impact, even if the result was inevitable for the series to continue. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Haymitch has a talk with head game master Seneca Crane pertaining to the riots in District 11. He convinces Seneca to change the rules to benefit Katniss, which would give the districts a hero to support. I'll talk about why this is important later, but it leads to a very significant alteration.
Attention, tributes, attention. The regulations requiring a single victor have been suspended. From now on, 2 victors may be crowned if both originate from the same district. This will be the only announcement.
Katniss races to find Peeta, laying wounded by the river, after Kato attacked him following the Tracker Jacker mishap.
Katniss.
No! I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not gonna do that.
Why not?
Obviously because there's a market for meat shields.
Activate Hero Shield!
Katniss does what she can to nurse Peeta back to health.
That's nice.
You fed me once.
Aww, that's so sweet.
Didn't know you had a thing for damsels in distress.
What? I do not?
Oh, come on. You sound like you're crushing on him. You're totally fangirling here.
Okay, fine, maybe a little, but it's not without good reason. Ever since the publication of Twilight, there seemed to be somewhat of a toxic trend when it came to male love interests in YA novels. While girls falling for douchebags in fiction is by far not a new thing, the inception of one creepy-ass, sparkling, patriarchal vampire only seemed to exacerbate this problematic cliché by encouraging one ripoff after the other. So you can only imagine what a welcome breath of fresh air was when Peeta came onto the YA scene. Seriously, after all the douchey, stalkery, controlling, possessive boyfriends, Suzanne Collins could not have written Peeta Mellark fast enough. Peeta Mellark is not only an appealing love interest, but also arguably one of the more well-rounded characters YA has given us. If a lesser writer had taken him on, he could have easily just been another bland, nice guy, but he wasn't. Yes, he was sweet, yes, he was sensitive, but he was also charismatic and cunning, with just a hint of mystery and danger to keep the readers on their toes, while still exhibiting flaws and vulnerability that any teenage boy would have in his circumstances. And to top it all off, he can bake! And he looks like Josh Hutcherson!
Ah, see? That right there. Fangirling.
Oh please, like it's any more different than your nonsensical crush on 4.
I wasn't crushing on him! That was simply admiration of a noble warrior spirit.
Yeah, right, like you don't have a poster of him in your room or something.
What? No, no, that's ridiculous. I don't have a poster of 4.
Attention tributes, attention. Commencing at sunrise. There will be a feast tomorrow at the cornucopia. This will be no ordinary occasion. Each of you needs something desperately. And we plan to be generous hosts.
Your medicine.
So Katniss and Peeta sound like they have a smidge of a chance, perhaps to get the medicine Peeta needs for his infected leg. On the morning of the tribute feast, there are 4 bags for the 6 remaining tributes. The girl from District 5 just runs and grabs it, but when Katniss tries to do the same, she gets attacked by Clove, the girl from District 2, who specializes in knife combat.
We're gonna kill you.
You kill her? I heard you.
No! You never break up a girl fight! Never!
Thresh, the boy from District 11, says he'll let Katniss live, if only for Rue.
Just this time, 12. For Rue.
Hey, want me to ruin this moment?
Don't you dare!
I'm gonna do it.
No!
Yes.
Krimson?
How does Thresh know what Katniss did for Rue?
That is actually a really good question.
During this scene in the book, Katniss had a chance to fully explain herself and told Thresh what she did for Rue, including giving her a burial and flowers. The movie has none of this. Clove taunts Katniss, Thresh saves Katniss and kills Clove, then Thresh leaves. At best, one can try to argue that Thresh made an assumption about Katniss and Rue teaming up, but he didn't know about the burial, avenging her, or even the bread that District 11 sent in thanks, unlike the book. Besides, they're both in a fight to the death. Sparing Katniss now without a very significant impetus only hinders Thresh later on. So how was that, Diane? Not too bad?
You're a monster. Katniss gets the medicine to Peeta, and they heal each other in yet another touching moment that even captures the game maker's hearts.
Katniss goes hunting while Peeta looks for plants, until Katniss gets an unexpected scare.
Peeta! Peeta!
Peeta found some berries to eat, but they were Nightlock, very poisonous berries, which the girl from District 5 ate without knowing what they were. After another touching couples moment...
Ah.
Fangirl.
What was that?
Nothing.
After finding out that it was the District 5 girl who ate the berries and set off the cannon, Katniss and Peeta pocket a few berries thinking they might be able to use them on Cato or Thresh, who are their only opponents left. But as they walk back to the cornucopia where the game started, night begins to fall hours early, and with the pack of wild dogs on the loose and 4 tributes remaining... 3 tributes remaining, it's time for the finale. What's wrong?
It's the dogs. They're all wrong.
Really? I know they're not incredible, but they're not all that bad given the film's budget.
No, it's that this was the point in the book where I got a feel for how evil the Capitol really was. In the movie, this is just a pack of random dogs, probably genetically enhanced mastiffs or something, but in the book, the dogs were all made from the corpses of the previously killed tributes. Just think about how depraved a group like the Capitol's game makers would have to be to mutate everyone we've met thus far like this. And it was done in such a short amount of time, too. Not only does this indicate the level of depravity of the Capitol, but the level of scientific advancement the Capitol has mastered. I had thought that the Capitol was mostly a bunch of assholes with money and guns, but this scene cemented the idea that there's so much more than that. This is really when I started fearing the Capitol, and the book showed how hard fighting against them would be.
Oh. And here I thought you didn't like them because you're a cat person.
My kitty.
Katniss and Peeta run to the cornucopia to escape the mutts, but unfortunately, Cato is waiting for them there. All 3 tributes struggle until Peeta and Katniss work together to launch Cato off the structure. So only Katniss and Peeta are left, ensuring a mutual victory until the Capitol makes yet another announcement.
Attention, attention, tributes. There has been a slight rule change. The previous revision, allowing for 2 victors from the same district, has been revoked. Only 1 victor may be crowned.
Distraught, Katniss devises a plan to pretend to eat the Nightlock with Peeta to force the Capitol into a stalemate, which actually works.
Stop! Stop! Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the winners of the 74th Annual Hunger Games.
Something important to keep in mind with this was an earlier scene that the movie included that wasn't in the book. For those who ask why didn't the Capitol have a contingency plan for events like this, the movie shows us an exchange between President Snow and Seneca Crane.
Why do we have a winner? I mean, if we just wanted to intimidate the districts, why not round up 24 of them at random and execute them all at once? It'd be a lot faster.
While this is still something of a problem, it does show that the move to announce 2 victors was the decision of Seneca and not the Capitol as a whole, which is why Seneca wound up dead.
And so Katniss and Peeta go home to District 12, but without Peeta realizing that Katniss's feelings were all a show, while his were actually authentic. Also, Snow continues to be a bad guy, which will get expanded upon in the sequel.
And that was The Hunger Games. Did it live up to the hype? What can one say about a movie revolving around child murder? Quite a bit, actually. The Hunger Games did a lot to earn its box office return, using several techniques that I haven't seen much on this show. The use of silence to emphasize mood, the clever uses of exposition, and the movie's portrayal of the characters were all entertaining and informative. The pacing was also pretty good, slowing down when it had to, but speeding up during the intense action scenes. The movie could have done more to establish the world a little better and make the Career Alliance a more formidable threat, but all in all, those are quibbles when compared to the overall product. The movie gets a 4 out of 5. I was a little late getting into The Hunger Games, hearing about how amazing the series was and getting a lot of hype about it. While this may have overblown the series' significance a little, I still had fun with this book. Not only was it unique in using present tense prose, but there was a lot of depth from reading between the lines, helped by background information that was implied or hinted at. Some of the most fun was watching Katniss survive during the games and having no idea how well the other tributes were faring. This put us in Katniss's shoes and made the story as gripping for us as it was for her. I think the book still has some issues in the world building, such as how the economy is supposed to work, but the book is still a very good read regardless. It gets a 4 out of 5. This is one of the most impressive jobs I've seen adapting a book to a movie. The characters and themes are loyal to the book, the transition from the book's first-person perspective was very cleverly applied, and as we mentioned before, the use of camera angles and sound to isolate and highlight Katniss's emotions showed off how skilled the director was. It left a few things out, like Katniss's deception regarding her relationship with Peeta, which could make for a shaky start with the sequel, but I guess they had to leave a few things out. The movie is still a strong example of a book-to-movie transition done right. As an adaptation, The Hunger Games gets a 4 out of 5. Well, thanks for helping on another episode, Diane. This was agonizing.
Anytime, Rogue.
So, when's your next episode coming out?
Soonish? Actually, like, I am already, almost done the script to my next episode. It's actually going to be about the storytelling power of costumes in TV and film.
Oh, that's cool. How's it coming along?
It's going great.
Wonderful. Now, please get the hell off of my channel.
Okay.
I've got to find a way to make my computer hack-proof. NPC, I've got a job for you. He thinks I have a violence fetish. Please. I'm calmer than he is most times. Just because I get a little excited every now and then means he thinks he can push me around. Yes! Die, you mangled freak! Eat hot plasma death!